previous presidents kicked the can of Afghanistan down the road. They knew the US war effort was failing. They knew our state-building mission was not succeeding, and yet they chose to pass the buck on to the next president. The easiest decision in the world that President Biden could have made would have been to stay in Afghanistan, but he would have been criticized for that as well. The decision that fell in President Biden's lap wasn't one between keeping 2,500 troops indefinitely or leaving. It was a decision between escalating the conflict, sending thousands more US troops into harm's way, or leaving a failed counterinsurgency. The chaotic components of the withdrawal, the fact that we didn't plan for such a rapid collapse of the Afghan government, leaving behind the interpreters, this is all emblematic of our approach to Afghanistan over the last 20 years. The reality is that politicians and policymakers like to compartmentalize different chapters of the war in Afghanistan and assign all the blame to one of those chapters. But when you step back and you look at the US project in Afghanistan as a whole, sure, there were a few silver linings, but by and large, it was an unmitigated disaster, and we need to reconcile ourselves with that. This next chapter of protecting US security requires more of a diplomatic footprint than boots on the ground. We've demonstrated that we can effectively engage in over-the-horizon counterterrorism. Granted, is it ideal? No, but neither was the example of the last 20 years. We have to accept the reality that the Taliban are the de facto government for the foreseeable future, and it's important that we continue talking to them. Just because our diplomacy with the Taliban is dysfunctional doesn't mean our diplomacy with the Afghan people needs to be dysfunctional. I think we should continue providing aid to the people of Afghanistan, and we need to reassess whether our sanctions are playing an effective role or not. Are they achieving the policy goals of altering the Taliban's behavior, or are they simply punishing the people of Afghanistan? Well, the United States needs to ask itself, are we able to engage in a region when we don't have US troops on the ground? Can we engage in a region diplomatically and not from this perspective of forever war? Without having a diplomatic presence in Afghanistan, we really have lost our eyes and ears into the country. And it's not about trusting the Taliban. It's not about legitimizing the Taliban. It's about engaging in the reality of Afghanistan. The United States and broader international community needs to develop an Afghanistan policy that is sustainable in the face of Taliban intransigence, but is ready to capitalize on fleeting moments of Taliban pragmatism. That's the real path forward.